Hey there, everybody. Josh Blalock with Shure. We're here in the really cool booth, broadcasting area of the Shure booth at InfoComm. And I'm joined by a very special guest from Microsoft, Amanda Stewart.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Amanda, what is your role at Microsoft?
Sure. Thanks, Josh. I am a senior partner program development manager.
Sometimes the roles change within
They
Microsoft,
shift
right?
around a little bit at
Yeah.
Microsoft, and it's so many words, it's easy to trip
Yeah.
up on them. But
Yeah.
basically, I help bring information about our product development, engineering, and programs to our channel community.
Okay, cool. And that gives us the opportunity, sure, to work closely together on a number of
Yes.
things. But today, we're talking about one of the hype words and also all the peripheral stuff that comes with it. We're talking about AI in the
Yeah.
workplace, and Microsoft's undergone some recent changes, introduced some new terms. So I wanted to start by talking about that, and then we'll go into the rooms and the stuff that's fun for me because I geek out in gear. Um, let's talk some of the new terms from Microsoft. What's kind of the current state? We're all pretty familiar with what Copilot is meant to be. We've heard the term now floating around co-work. There's a couple new things, and Ilya just came fresh off his keynote
Yep.
here at the show. So get us caught up a little bit on where Microsoft sits with some of this.
Oh gosh, there's so much to tell, and I'm so enthusiastic about it. I could sit in this booth for the rest of the week and talk to you
And it's
about
cozy in here,
these
and
things.
it's cool in
It
here.
is.
So
Has some
maybe,
great AC going. Yeah, thank you for
yeah.
that. In very hot Las Vegas this week. Okay, so how can I best bring you up to speed? There's a lot going on. To your point, yes, a lot of people know, generally speaking, what
Yeah,
Microsoft Copilot is.
right.
I would say, though, that a lot of people are still using it very like Copilot light. They're
Okay.
still using it maybe as like a glorified search engine, which is, easy to understand because it looks a little bit like a user
Yeah,
interface for a search engine.
right.
Like we know we can ask it questions. Maybe we know that it can help us draft information, agendas for meetings. Maybe it can help us summarize
Yeah,
information. But it's really once we get to an individual to that light bulb moment where they know, okay, I really understand how to effectively use Microsoft Copilot as a personal productivity tool,
yeah, right.
right? That's something where the next thing after that is where I would say look at Frontier. Frontier is something that you can enroll in. It's sort of like a early release opportunity for customers and partners to see what's latest and greatest and what's coming to from Microsoft in terms of Microsoft Copilot.
Can
S-
anyone enroll in it?
yes,
Or okay,
check it out.
all
Enroll
right.
in Frontier.
Frontier. And I
If
think
an
that's one of those terms that's been floating around recently that I think there's not huge clarity with yet. So I'm glad you
Yes.
brought it up.
Yes. Enroll in Frontier because when you do, one of the tools that you're going to see is called Co-work.
Co-work.
Co-work is Copilot on steroids. So instead of like quick hits into a Copilot chat in PowerPoint, and then
Yeah.
quick hits over here in Copilot in Excel, and quick hits into a Copilot chat thread over here in SharePoint or Business Chat. Cowork is your single landing page. It's sort of
Okay.
like Cowork Nirvana, right? It's your holy grail. Only have to go there, and it's like a workbook. So you
Okay.
can give it multiple steps. For example, I need to create a 4-part training module on agentic AI for an audience of reseller partners in the US. And I need your help to create the templates, the content with the speaker notes, draft the LinkedIn post, help me evangelize
Yeah.
this in my social networks. And without leaving to go to any other applications, without having to go to a different portal or interface, a little workbook will open up on the right hand side of the chat and it will generate your PowerPoint presentation and your Word doc with your speaker notes and your an article, PDF that you can post on your socials. So it's
Yeah.
all right there and it's doing all of these amazing multi-step processes for you.
That is, I mean, like you said, it sounds next level
Game
beyond what
changer.
people have been using it for. And
Yep.
I like how you kind of called out where it sits today as being the light adoption stage. And it's because we're at various stages. Some organizations are a little deeper into it,
Yeah.
and other organizations are not yet into it, but they're exploring it. Most of them understand now that it's going to be a part of what they do
Right.
in some shape or form.
Yep.
One other term that we didn't really dive into that I'd like to just clarify
Sure.
for pivoting the conversation toward conference rooms and et cetera is work IQ.
Yeah.
And that kind of became at the conference in Orlando recently, the M365 conference. That was a big one that was on the main stage, as Jeff Teeper talked
Yeah.
about it alongside several others. What does work IQ mean?
Sure. I'll give you a really simple explanation. Work IQ is basically the sum total of information that an individual has in their what we might call a Microsoft graph.
Okay.
So, if we think about me in a typical scenario, I have, as an individual contributor at Microsoft, I have access to some information and I do not have access to other information.
Yeah.
My work IQ is the total accumulation of my emails, my meetings, my chats, my everything that I have on SharePoint and OneDrive, and all of the data that I may have access to internally at Microsoft. I'm in an engineering team, so I have early access or dog food, release
Yeah. Yeah.
information, and that creates my work IQ. And your work IQ is what Co-work uses to
Okay.
develop materials that it's building for you.
Okay.
So it is not work IQ. For example, I don't know whether people's salaries or bonus structure at Microsoft, right? Like that's typical. That is a governed, a
Right.
set of data points. So my work IQ is not going to have access to that
Yeah.
information. It wouldn't include that in any sort of report or,
Right.
PowerPoint deck that I asked it to create for me. So work IQ is very personalized, but it's comprehensive based on that individual.
Okay. So it's context,
Yes.
really, is essentially. And when people think of, okay, work IQ, new term, this isn't like a tool or anything. This is the context that makes up what Cowork is drawing on
Right.
to give you the results you're looking for.
Exactly.
As you
In
just
one place.
and that's powerful. It's good to know what that
Yeah.
context is. So I think that's really important when we talk about the conference rooms because that's where some of that context comes into play.
Yep.
Right? What's discussed in a conference room or on a phone call or wherever else that you're communicating with people throughout Teams and other places in the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, those communications are discoverable and usable by Copilot, Co-work at the end of the day.
Right.
And so that is part of your work IQ, right?
Yes.
And it's part of things that makes it up. Good. So that's our foundation there.
Yes.
Where I'd like to go is going back to the concept of some organizations are still at that light stage, others maybe not. But either way, they are evaluating how they embrace AI and create their own AI powered workplace, however deep they're gonna go down that
Mhm.
rabbit hole. And as they do that, they are also saying, okay, well, there's other pieces of the puzzle. Let's find out what equipment we're gonna put in those rooms, right? Microsoft has certified a number of of options for us. Let's go explore
Right.
those. Let's decide what fits best for our aesthetic. And we hope at Sure that at the end of the day, they're coming our way and talking to us. Um, because there's a number of factors that affect that, right?
Yeah.
I think one of the easiest things to talk about is audio quality. Um, Whatever you put into the system, if your work IQ is being made up of not 100% accuracy from that data, what you put into a system is what you get out of the
Yep.
system, right? So that's the
Garbage in,
easy.
garbage out. Yep. Hmm.
Exactly. Garbage in, and we don't. When you go with a Shure product, we there's no garbage going in. It's all going to be clean audio coming
Right.
out. That's a pride point for us. But one of the other conversations that's interesting that I want us to unpack, and from your side, from my side, is there are some legacy. I want to call it legacy, even though they're current requirements, but they're legacy in terms of they come from a prevalent use case of the past, mostly, right? And that is the fact that a person walks into a room with their own meeting, not a Teams meeting, some
Hmm.
other type of meeting. They
Hmm.
want to use the room for that. It's BYOD,
Yep.
BYOM, whatever you can want to call that scenario. And Microsoft actually has warmed up to that
Yep.
in terms of we understand that's a part of the solution. So we give you a way to manage and have visibility into what that is, but then also data around that, right? And so that you can decide, oh, this room is actually heavily used. A native room might fit us better in that case. But for customers that decide, hey, we really need that to be here,
Yeah.
we're going to continue to use that for the foreseeable future. At least we believe we do for our current workflows. That's kind of the right hand. And on the left hand, they're saying we are going full speed into this AI powered workplace. the two things, whether most organizations realize it or not, they don't really go together super well. I was hoping you could break down from the Microsoft side why they don't go together. What's being missed there?
Right. Yeah. Thank you for asking that question. This is so, so important to understand. I think for our customers' sake, if we are going to help them realize adoption and ROI for their Copilot investment, this is a really important factor and component to understand. So what's happening right now, and something that's been happening over the last, I don't know, 10 years, is that an organization will look at their portfolio of spaces,
Yeah.
and they'll say, well, these couple of rooms are very high impact, they're very complex rooms, they're large rooms, and so we will invest in native Teams rooms devices for those rooms. And then some of the other rooms, we're doing small meetings in there. We don't have board meetings in there. So they're considered, I'm using air quotes for anyone listening, they're considered less valuable.
Yeah.
That does not work in the era of AI, because when we are having a meeting in conference room B or any physical meeting room,
Yeah.
we are building a vault of knowledge in that meeting.
Right.
That is the gold nugget of Copilot ROI and adoption and realization. Where we are sort of pivoting the conversation is to outcomes from meetings.
Yeah.
Just to be, I think everyone listening might agree with this. We have too many meetings, not enough outcomes,
Yeah.
positive outcomes from our meetings. So we maybe understand that Copilot can help us be successful before and during the meeting. But where the magic really happens is when we click the end meeting button. If we don't have Copilot, that vault of knowledge from whatever meeting we were just in, um, we are limiting our ability to leverage that Copilot for
Right.
creating a better outcome from that meeting.
Yeah.
So when we take a personal device into a conference room, we are maintaining, and let's say I have a Copilot on that PC, right?
Right.
My BYOD environment, I've got Copilot on that PC. I'm maintaining a personal productivity scenario
Right. For you.
for me, as maybe I scheduled the meeting, so I'm going to bring my computer and I'm going to run it, and then
Right.
anyone else who's in that meeting room with me, that conference room,
Yeah.
they are limited in what they can have access to. And of course, if they were invited to that meeting, if they attended that meeting and participated in that meeting, that vault of knowledge that was created in that meeting is valuable to them. We
Yes.
want them to have not a personal productivity experience in a meeting room. We want them to have a group productivity experience in a meeting room.
Yeah.
We know that Copilot is being used in the Microsoft Teams application more than any other app, right? So let's leverage that. Let's help empower people to understand how Copilot can set them up for success, not just before, not just during, but
Yeah.
also after the meeting, right? And to your point, audio is the most critical factor in that, right? Because we want people to have their identity attributed to that meeting. We want them to have
Yes.
their voice profile created, if they do facial recognition, so that anything that they contribute to in that meeting is captured
Yeah.
into that vault of knowledge, right? So after the meeting, I can go back to my desk, and instead of the outcome falling flat, because now I'm just focused on joining whichever the next meeting is on my calendar,
Right.
I have that starting point that was created, that vault of knowledge from that meeting where I can say, hey, vault of knowledge, help me build a 30, 60, 90 plan based on the decisions that we made in that
Yeah.
meeting today. Help me build a campaign. And again, it's not something where you're going to say, off to the presses with this. It's a starting point that isn't a blank starting point.
Right.
And we want that to be available for every small, medium, huddle, kiosk, hot desk, and complex room, because that's where the true value, that tipping point of adoption and ROI and realization for AI comes, right? Not just in having that capability to create vaults of knowledge from meetings in a couple rooms, but all of the rooms.
The way I look at this, right? I kind of look at the situation similar to email. I think, and when I say that, a lot of people, there's a little bit of a question mark that I can see showing up on their face, like, how is this related to email? And I say, I'll ask the question. I'm like, well, let me ask this. Email is all about communication, right? And in that sense, you expect to be able to go back later and see what was communicated, to use that data for something. Maybe you're going to use it for creating a presentation. Maybe you're using it for who knows what. It's there for you to use, to discover in this new age. It's there for Copilot to access and use and do things with, give you answers with.
Yep.
But is it acceptable in your organization for there to be gaps in your email?
Right.
As an IT organization, you need to preserve the integrity of everyone's email, of all communications. Typically, there are compliance requirements there for making sure that information is kept per the regulation of the company or the region or whatever for a certain period of time. It's got to be discovered for legal purposes, whatever, discoverable.
Yep.
These are communications within the company.
Yep.
And then we think about them because they're written communications. We think about them as, oh, we have to safeguard this stuff.
Right.
And so I asked the question, well, okay, we all agree that's the case. Would you be cool with saying, well, we have access to all of it, but maybe about 90% of it, it's just disappeared from the server after a week, and we
And
we can't access it anymore.
And we are so rigid about how we organize our inbox, right? I mean,
Yes.
I'm a recovering email perfectionist. You weren't going to tell me
Yeah.
that I was going to lose access to those emails that I was
No.
saving and
No.
in 30 days time. No, because I had a system and a approach
Yes.
right to saving and filing. You're right. What a really good analogy, because obviously what we're doing in meetings, the decisions that we're making, we're pulling everybody away from their desks, away from the real work of
Yeah.
work to
Yeah.
sit in meetings that might even be more valuable, right? To
Yes.
have a recording and a vault of that kind of information.
It's been viewed through a different lens up till now, right?
Yeah.
And AI is starting to change that conversation, but I think it's changing it in a way a lot of organizations and decision makers just haven't stopped to ruminate on yet.
Yeah.
And I like what you just said. You became so rigid with the way that it's like so many of us did. This is how I operate in there.
Yep.
That was muscle memory.
Yep.
You built after years of managing your communications in an inbox. Patterns were established. You learned this is how I communicate. This is how I preserve data. This is where I go to find things. As we as an organization start to build new muscle memory,
Yep.
we're saying, hey, we got these new tools. We want you to use them. We have licensing for it. Use this stuff. And people begin to get comfortable with that.
Yeah.
They begin to expect that, oh, when I go into most of my meeting rooms, I can expect that I don't have to do anything. I just have the meeting, I collaborate, I talk, and all that communication wasn't written, but it's available for me because it's now
Right.
documented somewhere.
Yeah.
And then one day they walk into one of the special rooms and they have the same expectation because they didn't stop to think about that. They have their meeting in a BYOD format or whatever it is, and then they go back and they want to use the data that was supposed to have been created, and it's not there.
Not
There is
there.
no data.
Right.
That's a gap.
Right.
It's if you go back to the email analogy, it introduces gaps to the new muscle memory you're building around how you collaborate and work together.
Right.
Right. So that's kind of how I frame it, and I know that's exactly how Microsoft has how it works in the Microsoft world. Right. It's you do as much as you can to make a data available where it needs to be, but for security reasons, if you walk into the room with your personal laptop and you have access to it later, the security says that's the way it should be. Nobody
Exactly.
else should have access to that.
Exactly.
It's not to not help other people, but that's why you have a room with a room license that
Yeah.
has those capabilities.
And I think it is a paradigm shift, because I think right now we're in this scenario where we have too many meetings,
Yeah.
too many emails, too many IMs, chats, LinkedIn messages. It's very hard to stop,
Yeah.
reframe, and think, is there a better way or a more efficient way or a more productive way of doing this? But one thing that I to expand on your analogy around email, I have started to think of Outlook as quicksand,
Okay.
because it really shouldn't be a to-do list. It really shouldn't be the place where we
Right.
all go first time in the morning. It really should not be the last place we look at night, or the thing that we use as our sort of template for how we're going to work through the day.
Right.
It's quicksand. The more time you try to clear out clutter in your inbox,
Yeah.
the more clutter comes in, and we end up spending all our time trying to answer those easy emails, I think a stat I read somewhere was that we waste 67 hours a year sorting emails into folders.
It just makes everybody sink into their seats for a minute.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
quicksand, right? So
Yeah.
what we want to do instead is is shift, like build this new muscle memory to your
Yeah.
point that says, I'm going to go to Copilot first in the morning.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have it summarize my emails that I should prioritize today.
Right.
Don't go into your email. Focus on building better, skills, I guess, or tasks that you should accomplish in your morning that will prepare you to have better outcomes from what you have planned for the day.
Yeah.
And none of that will happen in email,
No.
right? So
No.
it takes time. It takes a lot of repeating the messaging
Yeah.
because we're
Yeah.
very secure in our meeting structure right
Yeah.
now.
And change is often hard and scary,
Exactly. And we went to, if we think about how we worked 20 years ago, we went into work and we sat down at our desk and we worked all day. We worked.
Right.
We did the true work of the work, right? And we maybe had one or two meetings scheduled a day.
Right.
And then over the past 6 years, seven almost, through this sort of anxious situation of not being able to see our customers, see our coworkers, see our employees, see our bosses, see our prospects, we got into this like, well, just schedule a meeting because I've got to see them. I need to
Yeah.
keep working.
Yeah.
So we came out of the other side as now we think it's normal to have just back to back meetings all day, every day,
Yeah.
and no
That's
work
work.
is getting done, right? And
Right.
so now we have
Yeah.
this like lingering hangover from all the meetings that we have. We don't
Yeah.
have time to actually build anything, any
Yes.
work on anything after the meetings. And if everybody would agree with that, right? That I
I would
don't
think
think
so. Yeah.
so.
We've all experienced that on various levels.
Exactly. So I think if we can say, well, really, let's consider how Copilot, having facilitator in your meetings, using group productivity tools in your meetings like native
Yeah.
Teams Rooms devices from Shure will set you up for success to one, maybe have fewer meetings,
Yeah.
two, have better results and outcomes from those meetings, and three, maybe even start automating.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe that'll be the topic for our next conversation, Josh, is the
Yeah. Right.
automations, right? Around what we can do with the vaults of knowledge that we're creating in our meetings. Yeah.
It feels like the proper use, and the continued learning of the use of these new tools
Right.
really is the great awakening of productivity, right?
Yes.
Because you're getting away from what kept you so busy, and you're actually clearing all the noise to the side and focusing in where you need to. And it is little baby steps. You use Copilot as a browser of sorts right now. Well, you start to incrementally discover, oh, hey, I didn't realize I could do that with it, or
Right.
that it was going to give me this. It's almost like a gateway to more stuff, right? I'm like, oh, I can actually do this now.
You pull it
You are
that thread.
building new habits,
Hmm.
and as we all go deeper down that rabbit hole, we are going to learn that this is what we expect our workplace to have.
Yeah.
This is what I expect out of my room. And so from the Shure side, I would say you want to make sure that as you're specking out rooms, you have equipment that is going to clean up that audio to be the very clearest and best it can be for the work IQ that sits on the other side of that. And from the Microsoft side, what would be your kind of parting advice on where people go to get a little bit to get started on going beyond that initial gateway moment to
Right.
going deeper?
Yeah. I think look into Frontier.
Yeah.
So enroll in Frontier so that you can start using Co-work. Start using Facilitator for
Awesome.
every meeting that you're in at the desktop or in a physical meeting room. And make sure that you are considering having standard native devices from Shure in every meeting space, not just those high impact meeting rooms. Deploy it everywhere. It's scalable, low overhead. Now we have solutions that will allow organizations to do that so that you can really start to see the benefits and the productivity.
It's an exciting time. The future is
Yeah.
bright. Thanks for joining me today, Amanda. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in, joining us behind the mic. I hope this was helpful. Please reach out if you got any questions on the topic. Thank you, everyone.